My family used my money for a secret Hawaii vacation, so I made sure their paradise turned into hell. I'm 27. I was 4 when my life shifted in ways I couldn't have imagined. It was then that my sister Emily was born, and suddenly I became invisible in my own home. From the moment she could sing, it was as though the spotlight was stolen from me, never to return. Looking back now, I can trace every moment that led to the final betrayal that would ultimately set me free. My earliest memories are saturated with the sound of Emily's voice, angelic and powerful, capturing every ounce of attention at every family gathering. By the time Emily was 3, she had already become the undisputed star of every family event. Her performances weren't just appreciated. They were expected, demanded, celebrated with a fervor that left no room for anyone else to shine. Me, I stood in the corners, holding plates of snacks I'd helped Mom prepare, doing what I was told. I became the silent stagehand in Emily's ongoing show. Her voice could stop any conversation in its tracks, and everyone, including our parents, believed she was destined for greatness. I still remember the way relatives would coo over her, barely noticing me unless they needed someone to fetch more drinks. "Carrie, go help your sister practice her scales," Mom would say without even glancing up from the video she was recording of Emily, singing for the umpteenth time. "And make sure you've done the dishes first." The dishes always came first, then the laundry, then whatever else needed doing while Emily pursued her destiny. I was 8 then, watching Emily twirl around in an expensive pink tutu while I learned to use the washing machine. Mom was too busy coordinating Emily's singing lessons to teach me, so I taught myself, standing on a stool to reach the controls. One time, I turned a load of whites pink, and the punishment was swift, no allowance for 3 months to pay for new clothes. Emily's new dance costume that same week cost more than all the ruined laundry combined. Years passed, and Emily's stardom seemed to only grow while I was stuck managing the household chores, dealing with the blame for her mistakes, and quietly resenting the way my parents treated me. Then came the day that changed everything. Emily was 11, and I was 15 when she and her friends went to the mall, something I'd never been allowed to do at that age. The next morning, Emily was sick, her throat sore, and what started as a mild infection quickly became a severe strep throat, leaving her voice damaged beyond repair. The doctor's words fell like bombs in the hospital room. "Her vocal cords may never be the same." I can still see Mom's mascara running down her face, Dad's hands shaking as he filled out the insurance forms. When they returned home, Mom's grief turned to rage, and I was the target. "This is your fault," she screamed, her face contorted with anger. "You should have been watching her, but I was doing the laundry and cleaning the bathroom like you asked." I tried to explain, my voice small against her fury. It didn't matter, nothing I said ever mattered. "No excuses." Dad slammed his hand on the table so hard the dishes rattled. "You're grounded for a month, no phone, no TV, no nothing." That night, locked in my room with nothing but my thoughts for company, I made myself a promise. I would leave. I would build a life where I was more than just a servant in this house, where I didn't have to live under Emily's shadow. I just had to make it through a few more years. Then came the college acceptance letter from State College. I had been looking for an opportunity to break free, to build a life for myself. "It's the most affordable option," I said as I pushed the letter across the dinner table, hope fluttering in my chest despite years of disappointment. My parents' response was swift and final. "We don't have the money, Carrie," Dad muttered without looking up from his plate. Emily snickered from the other side of the table, twirling her fork in her pasta. "Maybe you should have developed some actual talents," she mocked, her voice raspy from the damage but still dripping with contempt. "Instead of just doing chores all day." I begged them, offering to take out loans, to work part-time, anything to make it happen. "I'll pay it back once I graduate," I pleaded, my voice breaking. "I promise." But they refused to even consider it. "Some people are meant for college, others aren't. Accept it and move on," Dad said flatly, as if he was discussing the weather rather than my future. That night I called Rachel, my best friend since middle school, crying into the phone. "They won't help. They won't even consider it." The words came out between sobs, years of pain and rejection pouring out. Rachel, always my lifeline in the storm, invited me over. The next evening, I sat in the restaurant, Rachel's family business, pouring my heart out to Mrs. Kim. What happened next still brings tears to my eyes when I think about it. "We've watched you grow up, Carrie," Mrs. Kim said with a warm smile that reached her eyes. "You're like a second daughter to us. We'll pay your tuition, but you'll work here part-time after classes, pay us back slowly, no interest." I was speechless. For the first time in my life, someone believed in me. Someone saw me as more than just Emily's sister or the family maid. The Kims became my real family, supporting me through college while my own parents barely acknowledged my existence. I moved into my dorm at State College, and the distance from my parents only solidified the reality that I would never be enough for them. Still, I worked hard balancing school and my part-time job at the Kims restaurant. When I finally graduated, I'd paid back every penny to the Kims, who tried to refuse the money but eventually accepted it with pride in their eyes. The day I received a job offer at a good salary, I felt like everything was finally falling into place. I wore the suit I bought with my own money, and within a year I was leading my own team. Success felt sweet, but the hole in my heart where family should be remained. It was Christmas when everything started to unravel. Something felt different as I pulled into my parents' driveway. The house was unusually quiet, and when I entered, Mom greeted me in an old sweater, looking defeated. "Emily's not coming," she said, her voice low and tired. I glanced around the room, taking in the changes. The table, which should have been groaning under the weight of Christmas food, had only a store-bought ham and microwaved sides. "We've had some setbacks," Mom said quietly, wringing her hands. "Your father's investment didn't pan out. We had to take out loans." My heart sank. For years, I had been told that college wasn't for me, that I wasn't worth the investment. And now, they were telling me that they couldn't afford a real Christmas dinner. The irony wasn't lost on me. But despite everything they'd done, despite the years of neglect and blame, I found myself offering to help. I ordered a full holiday feast from the best caterer in town, spending money I'd earned through hard work and determination. I watched as they dug into food I'd bought, their praise for the meal never quite extending to me. Afterward, Mom cautiously approached me in the kitchen. "Since you're doing so well now," she began, her voice honey-sweet, "maybe you could help us out, just temporarily." Part of me wanted to remind them of how they had treated me, of the college dreams they'd crushed, of the years of emotional abuse. But instead, I heard myself saying, "I'll set up a card for you, but there's a limit, $1,000 a month." They agreed eagerly, promising to use it only for necessities. For a few months, everything seemed fine. The charges were reasonable: groceries, utilities, basic needs. I started to think that maybe, just maybe, we could build a new relationship based on mutual respect. Then came the betrayal that would change everything. It started with a casual scroll through Instagram one morning. There on my feed was a photo I was never meant to see. Emily and her fiancé, the perfect couple, posing on a pristine beach in Hawaii. The caption read, "Living our best life at the Grand Wailea, thanks to the best parents ever for this amazing family vacation." They had forgot to block me from Emily's social media. My hands shaking, I opened my banking app. The charges hit me like physical blows, $40,000 in total. First-class flights, luxury resort accommodations, spa treatments, sunset cruises, exclusive dining experiences, all charged to my account over the past month. They hadn't asked. They hadn't invited me. They hadn't even tried to hide it well. I called them immediately, my voice surprisingly steady despite the rage building inside me. "Why did you use my card to pay for this trip?" I asked, gripping my phone so tight my knuckles turned white. Mom answered, and I could hear music and laughter in the background. "We just decided to take a little break," she said casually, as if she was discussing a trip to the grocery store. Emily needed this after her engagement, and her in-laws wanted to celebrate together. "A break," my voice cracked. "At the Grand Wailea Resort with Emily's fiancé's family." "Oh, honey," Mom's voice turned sickeningly sweet. "We would have invited you, but you're always so busy with work. We didn't want to bother you." That's when I heard Emily's voice in the background, slightly slurred from what I assumed was expensive cocktails. "Just tell her to send more money. That's all she's good for anyway." The words hit me like a slap. "Put Emily on the phone," I demanded. There was shuffling, and then Emily's voice came through clearly. "What's your problem?" she asked, annoyed. "It's not like you can't afford it. You're just jealous because you weren't invited." Jealous, I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm not jealous, Emily. I'm done." "Done with what?" she sneered. "Done being your ATM. Done being used by this family. You're not family anymore," I said, throwing her words back at her before she could say them. "You're just thieves." What happened next gave me more satisfaction than I care to admit. I hung up and immediately called my bank. As a premium client, I had access to their emergency services. Within hours, I had canceled the card, reported the charges as fraudulent, and started the process of legal action. The backlash was immediate and explosive. Calls and messages flooded in from all sides. My parents, Emily, our relatives, family, friends. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I posted the truth on social media, showing everyone exactly what had happened. I included screenshots of the charges, Emily's photos, and a brief explanation of the years of manipulation that had led to this moment. The consequences were far-reaching and devastating for them. My parents had to beg friends for money to get home from Hawaii. Their future in-laws, who had been led to believe they were being treated to a dream vacation, were horrified to discover they had been unwitting participants in fraud. Emily's engagement imploded when her fiancé's family learned the truth about her character. Mom and Dad tried everything to fix the situation. They showed up at my apartment, my office, even the Kim's restaurant, begging for forgiveness. They claimed they had only wanted to give Emily a special engagement celebration, that they would pay me back eventually, that they had meant to tell me about the trip. But I was done with the lies, done with the manipulation, done with being the family servant and ATM. The final straw came when they tried to guilt me through family friends. "They're still your parents," people would say. "Emily's still your sister, family forgives." That's when I realized something important. Sometimes the hardest part of growing up isn't standing on your own, it's learning when to walk away from toxic relationships, even when those relationships are with family. I blocked them everywhere, changed my phone number, moved to a new apartment, started fresh. Now, 3 years later, I sometimes hear about them through mutual acquaintances. Mom and Dad had to downsize their house. Emily works as a receptionist, her dreams of marrying into money shattered. They still tell people I abandoned them, that I'm heartless and cruel. But I don't care anymore. I have the Kims who treat me like a real family. I have Rachel who has stood by me through everything. I have my career, my peace of mind, and most importantly, my self-respect. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, I think about that 4-year-old girl who became invisible when her sister was born. I wish I could tell her that she would grow up to be strong, successful, and finally, gloriously visible. Not as Emily's sister, not as her parents' servant, but as herself. For the first time in my life, I am no longer invisible. I am no longer waiting in the wings of someone else's show. I am the star of my own life, and that's worth more than any family fortune or false loyalty. Some might call it revenge, but I call it justice. Some might call it cruel, but I call it necessary. And some might call it sad, but I call it freedom. Because sometimes the best family isn't the one you're born into. It's the one you choose for yourself.